You're listening to Oilersnation Radio, presented by the Nation Network. Subscribe for free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Oilersnation Radio, episode 108. I am Bagnell here with Tyler Yaremchuk, Rick, and Nation Dan. We are here for episode 108 of the best Oilers podcast on earth. And we are going to start this off by shouting out our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant out in Sherwood Park, Alberta. It is time to winterize your vehicle. I don't know where you're listening to this or when you're listening to this, but right now I'm looking out my window a little bit and it is snowing. First snowfall of the year in Edmonton is coming. It is perfect time to start thinking about winter tires, car starters, whatever you need. Our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant are here to help. You can go ahead and follow them on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at SherwoodFord_the Giant. And as we like to do, to kick off our podcast, we're going to start this off with the Sherwood Ford Giant Question of the Week. Mr. Yaremchuk, take it away.
Sherwood Ford Giant Question of the Week. We've all seen what Ken Holland has been up to over the last week here. Is he done, though? That's the big question. Is this it? Is the Oilers roster as it stands right now the way it's going to look on opening day? Or is Uncle Ken, does he maybe have something else? Does he have another trick up his sleeve? What do you guys think?
Well, before we get started here, I think that let's look at what he's done. So last week when we recorded the podcast, we were right in the middle of free agency. Shit was happening. We were all excited. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do. So at that point, Kyle Turris signed. Mm-hmm. At that point, Tyler Ennis signed. Puljujarvi was back. But what we didn't get was Tyson Barrie happened the next day on Saturday. Cheap deal, 1-year deal. It's reported by basically everyone that's an insider that he took less money to come to Edmonton.
Way less money.
Which is something you don't hear very often, but I like it. And then another one that came almost very quickly after was Mike Smith back in on another 1-year deal worth a max of $2 million if he hits his bonuses, starting at 1.5, max $2 million. So back to the Sherwood Ford Giant Question of the Week is Ken Holland Done, gentlemen. Rick, I'm going to start with you. What are you thinking?
I don't think so, but that's not to say that this isn't the roster going in. I think a good GM never closes the door on that type of stuff. So I would assume he's still making phone calls, still accepting phone calls, still looking at making little tweaks here and there. But I think he's also proven that he's not willing to overspend for anything. So I think he'll be out there looking, but I can't guarantee he actually does anything. It's all up to whether or not the other GM is going to kind of play ball with us.
Dan, what do you think?
I still think with the injury to Clefbaum, with him not really being able to move around much on the defense, I think he goes out and probably finds another veteran defenseman just to kind of, fill in the gaps once we get closer to the season here. But I understand his desire to just say he's done, so that way we don't speculate too much. But I think that the defense probably needs a little bit more solidification, especially like we talked about with these teams playing in COVID. An opportunity for them to contract COVID and have that affect the roster going forward. So you need to have some NHL ready defensemen to be able to pick up the slack, and maybe they start the season in Bakersfield. But I think that this is probably the roster that we see started. I just think that he has to make a couple more small minutia moves.
Tyler?
Yeah, I think there's going to be 2 more moves coming, and I think they're both going to be for left shots. I think he'll go get a left winger somewhere, just a guy who he's not going to cost you more than like 1.4, 1.3 million. I'm looking at a guy like Dominic Cahoon, right? Someone who might have the potential, if he clicks with someone, to be in your top 9, or he might just be a fringe guy who's your extra skater every once in a while. But a guy like that with some offensive potential on the left side up front, and on the back end, I agree with Dan. I think that he's going to go get maybe not a veteran, but a capable NHL option for the left side, just because injuries happen, and I'm not sure if they're entirely confident in William Lagesson being their 4th best left shot D-man. They might want something in there to as a bit more of an insurance policy. So I think a left winger and a left shot, neither one making more than $1.4 million.
Gregor this morning on Oilersnation.com reporting the Oilers did make an offer to Cahoon, but it was a little bit shy of what he was looking for. However, he's still unsigned, so there is potential to make that happen. One thing that, since we're talking about a left shot D-man, films he just thought it'd be fun to look at an aging veteran who seems to still be able to do it despite the fact that he is 2,000 years old.
And a lot of
a lot of people on the nation really liked the idea of bringing in Zdeno Chara on a 1 year, provided that you could get him for cheap. The guy has made all the money in the world that he's ever going to need. He still wants to play. And at 9,000 years old, his options could be limited. Would there be any interest from anyone here in that happening?
It would be great because Chara is a legend and it'd be cool to see him in Oilers colors. It's just not a fit. I think he would look at the Oilers depth chart and kind of go Nurse, Jones, Russell. You know, there's 3 NHLers there. I'd imagine Chara, if he's going to come back and play, wants to go somewhere where he's playing every single game or close to it. And I would also imagine there was talk that, you know, I believe he has a young family and things like that. I'm not sure if he wants to uproot them on a 1-year deal to come to Edmonton in the middle of a pandemic. With Chara, I have a feeling it's Boston or somewhere on that East Coast, or it's just not going to happen.
That'd be kind of cool to see him play instead of Russell, though, no?
No, 1,000%.
Well, sure, but I mean, maybe that's like you have a trade for Chris Russell, so you move him out, then you go spend $2 million on Chara, then you use your $2 million to go get something else, kind of thing. But that's a lot of hoops to jump through.
And then he plays all the defensive minutes, and you know he plays the bigger load of the defensive minutes, and it's tough to do. But I don't see it happening.
Ken?
Oh, I have time for him on this team. I think back to this team when we brought in an Adam Oates when he was way past his prime, but he came in and he helped lead some of the younger people along.
Jared Stoll had to take face-offs.
Exactly. Yeah, Jared Stoll points to him as the reason he knows to do that. So I think that there's a purpose to it, but I agree with you guys. I think that there's no real way he ends up anywhere other than on the East Coast, somewhere in and around Boston. But I would love to see it.
The family thing that I don't think is that big of a thing, because I don't think those guys uproot their families.
No, but I
you
think
guys hang out here and I'll see you in a little bit type of situation.
But he's comfortable playing on the East Coast. That's just, and I think we've seen that a lot with a lot of players as they go on in years. They like to stay on the coast that they're used to. Patty Marleau.
That's a select few. I mean, Patty Marleau plays on the other coast, then went to Toronto, went back to the other coast. But I mean,
now he's back in San Jose.
Yeah, but he's more, but I mean, you can't even, that's not a thing, because in the West Coast, the travel is horrendous. When you play on the East, it's for the travel, right? Like when they say play on the coast, they're talking about play on the East because your travel is way less. I remember there a year where Ovechkin slept in his bed almost every night after January 1st. Whereas, on the West Coast, you're on the plane damn near more than anything else, right? So I don't know. These guys, they like to play hockey, man. Sometimes, that's what it comes down to. A guy like him, he's still playing at his age. I don't think he's too worried about where he ends up playing. He just wants to keep playing.
The thing according to this came up because Pierre LeBrun on TSN on the Insider said that he's exploring all options. Bruin's still the front runner, but he's kind of looking at anybody that shows interest. So that's kind of why we looked at it. But he is set to turn 44 years old in March.
Wait, did you say 44?
44, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. March 18th, he'll turn 44.
But there's a guy that if you're playing a 50-game season, or if you're playing an 82-game season, if he's playing half your games, you're not crying, and you've got a fresher, left side for the playoffs. I think he's worth looking at for if the money is right.
I'd flip him for Chris Russell for sure.
Just to talk about it because it's fun. Chara did average more than 20 minutes for the Bruins last year, and they were all in their defensive zone. He had a 35.7 O-zone start, which is nothing. So he was playing the hard minutes in Boston last year, even at 2,000 years old.
He's a gym rat, dude. That guy.
I feel like we aren't talking about this enough. Maybe I'm just an idiot and haven't been paying attention. I thought he was 39 or 40.
No.
He's 44, bro. He's played 1,500 games in his NHL career. That's nuts.
Oh, I know.
He's eating 20 minutes a day. That's, damn.
That's exactly it.
He's a freak.
He's closing in on the record for most games played.
No, that's Marleau. Marleau is.
That's Marleau. Okay, on Gordy.
Yeah. He's 55 away.
He's going to break it this year.
Chara can't be that far behind.
Chara's 200 games back on Marleau.
Oh shit!
Really, that much?
I just closed the fucking
big injury.
Windows, damn it.
Man, that's wild.
I can't think of a big injury for him. Can you?
Although I imagine when the big man does get hurt, that's like a tree falling in the woods. You know what I mean?
You need a 9-person medical staff to attend to him.
So it takes a day and a half for him to hit the ice. There you go.
Chara in his career has played 1553, and Patrick Marleau in his career, as I talk very slowly to allow NHL.com to load. Marleau has played 1723. So yeah, like there's a gap. I think part of the thing was Chara's first season was 97-98. So he didn't break into the league until he was like 2021.
Whereas, defenseman break in versus.
Actually, no, they both broke in the same year.
Got to be injuries then. So Marlowe's been healthier.
Holy fuck!
But the lowest number of games that Chara has played outside of a lockout year, at 48 games in a lockout year, he played 63 games one year and 62 games.
Can I read you the games played in Marlowe's career?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so this year he played 64, which I think was all of them because most teams only got 64. Max. And then it goes 82, 82, 82, 82, 82, 82, 48 lockout year, 82, 82, 82, 76, 78, 77, 82, 80, 82, 79, 81, 81, 81, 74.
God, it's like
that's fucked.
Man,
so the fact that Chara took like 2 nights off a season puts him behind Marleau.
That durability from Marleau, I didn't know that, Tyler, until you ran through it. Like that durability, that's impressive. That's really fucking impressive.
Playing in a
considering
tough
the
Western Conference?
Yeah, like that's crazy. Either that or Patrick Marleau is really, really into physical pain and he's got no need for a safe word. You know what I mean?
Or he has been on steroids this whole time and has somehow skirted the NHL drug policy.
I don't believe that to be true. That is Tyler Yaremchuk's alleged opinion and not those of the rest of us on the podcast. So back to the question, is Ken Holland done? Minor tweaks?
Yeah, minor tweaks still.
Yeah, I think so. A couple minor tweaks.
At least he's looking still.
And like obviously not done because we know that Ethan Barrie needs a contract. That's going to get done.
The other thing too, like this year, there's so many quality free agents still on the market and no one has money. I think this could be a sky high year for #PTO everyone.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we could see a ton of PTOs this year. And Edmonton is a great spot to take a professional tryout. You get an exhibition game where you play next to Connor, baby, or next to Leon or wherever. This is a great spot to take a gamble. We saw Barry do it. We saw Turris and Ennis do it to an extent. I combine their names there. But
like a guy like Anthony Declare.
How many last year's scratch tickets end up disappearing then? Like the Euros.
Oh, I mean,
knee guards. Like if someone comes in and outperforms knee guard in Gaetan Haas in camp, man, they're taking off. Are we going to lose a couple of those guys this year? Are those scratch tickets going to be done if we PTO a bunch of guys?
But if you PTO guys and they come in and earn jobs over Nygaard and stuff,
I'm not against it. I'm just asking a question. Yeah, I'm not against it at all. I want the best players on the team here. So yeah, whoever wins. I really don't give a shit after that.
I think as of right now on the lineup, the only scratch ticket we have is Archibald, right? He'd be the only guy that you would say is penciled into the lineup.
Nygaard and Haas, I think, are too.
No.
Well, I guess, are you bumping Kara out?
I'm looking at Puckpedia.
I'm actually surprised Kara's still here, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Haas, I think Tippett trusts Gaetan Haas too. I wouldn't be surprised if Haas plays a lot more this year, a lot more than some people think.
He did seem to, you know what, to me, I thought Gaetan Haas actually last year, as the season went on, coming over from the Swiss League, it took him a minute, but then he looked a lot better as the season progressed. He's got wheels. He's a right-handed centerman, can play on the wing. I think that versatility Tippett would probably like.
And I would have Nygaard in the lineup over Chason.
Yeah, but we know that's not going to happen, though.
I know, but like for me, one, I would be trying to move Chason's cap hit. And two, like, I just think he's a slow boots, bottom six guy who can contribute on the power play. Just put James Neal in that spot and put Nygaard in, man. Get more speed in that bottom six. Like, I like Chason. He seems like a great dude, but I think there are better options. I think I'd rather have Nygaard in the lineup over him.
Yeah, he kind of filled a spot when we needed him, and we're at a point now where we don't need that spot filled by a player like him anymore. And instead of putting Neal there, I know I sound a little favoritism here, but I'd take a look at putting 98 there. It's just that right-handed shot, man. You saw what Letestu did all those years ago, right? Even Chason. It's that right-handed shot when you get down to that post and you get a bang pucks in. It's just Neal's shooting the wrong way. You're not in that spot. So I'd like a right. To be fair, I think I'd rather have Yamamoto there first, but I know everyone likes to talk about the size and the beating you take in front of the net. Well, here's a much bigger guy, stronger guy. But I get it. Like, yes, to win the spot first, but if I was penciling in a power play right now, I think I'd be looking at Puljujarvi as I'd be at least hoping that he wins that spot because I think he can be a lot more effective than Chason has been.
To follow that along, I also wouldn't mind a better mix of handedness on the power play because there was how many games last year did they run an all 5 lefty power play?
We got Barry.
Tyson Berry's going to be there.
Right?
Of course, Tyson Berry's going to help, and he distributes the puck really well. But also, I having another one out there probably would help. Especially with the amount that Connor, Nuge, and Leon move around.
If the Oilers wanted...
I put Yamo and Puljujarvi there first before I put Neil there.
If the Oilers wanted to, they could honestly build such a good second power play unit. Like, if you took Nugent Hopkins off and threw a right shot on that side, your second power play unit could be Nuge, Yamamoto, Ethan Bear running it, Kyle Turris, who's a good power play producer as well, and Ennis even. You could build a really good second power. They shouldn't. They should just run the Supernova group. But I agree, a right shot in that mix. And Barry's going to do that. Connor McDavid in his career has really never had a booming right shot D-man to feed one-timers to on the power play. He's got that now.
He's never had it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that Tyson Berry is going to make... It's going to be interesting to see what just a different look on defense does, because it was a lot of the times it was Clefbaum last year. Tyson Berry is going to bring a different flavor to that power play that was very, very good last year. And while I do agree that they could put together a decent second power play, I just don't see what's the point.
There is no point.
What's the point when the big boys are just going to get it done on the first try?
You just have a nice line that's ready to go out there for the last 15 seconds of the power play.
Well, I was just going to say,
and into the next 45 seconds.
Yeah,
the big boys are playing 1:30 of every power play now.
Yeah,
so
you got
really
30,
matter.
you got 15, 30 seconds, and then you're also out there. If you got to keep the puck in their end, you got to take advantage of the fact they're out of gas and they get the new player out there. That's your guys' power play too.
Going back to just is Holland done for a second, just to wrap it up. I think it's going to be interesting around the league how many people are hashtag PTAing everyone, because there's a lot of players out there that they would get more in any other year than 2020. And there's a lot of guys that are still waiting for deals. I'm still on Athanasiou watch. He's not coming back here, but I would love to know where he's going. And I'd love to know for how much he signs for.
But again, he might be a guy who, I heard a rumor Vancouver kicked around on him a little bit, but decided they need a defenseman. There are not a lot of teams with significant money to spend. Athanasiou might be a guy who just goes, you know what? I need to go somewhere for $1.5 million, and I need to reestablish myself and hit the market again next year and try this whole song and dance one more time.
Then I wonder why he wouldn't want to do that here.
Me too. That's why I'm not completely closing the door on it. We're talking about a cheap left winger who could, make an impact offensively. Why not try bring him back? It's probably going to cost you more than 1.5. But if he's not getting deals anywhere, what's he asking for?
Who are you going to take out of the lineup for him? Can he kill penalties?
I'm trading Chason. I think that's got to be a move here at some point. Is you're finding a way to offload
but we still have Haas, who's not technically in the top 12 right now.
Injuries happen. You want to have a couple extra bodies kicking around.
No, hey, listen, injuries. I completely get that. But are you going to be able to sell a guy like AA on? Hey, you're 13, but you're first in type of situation?
I don't think he would be even. I think you could look at him and say you're going to be an everyday player as long as you're producing, because he would be.
So then obviously it looks like JJ and Chason come out, Haas and AA go in.
Yeah, why not? I think that makes
sense. And then Nygaard's still on the outside.
But he's your 13. You throw him in once in a while.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I don't think it's happening, guys. I think that if AA is going to do it, he's just going to go somewhere like Colorado on a smoking deal. And
I don't think we're looking at him.
I think that you look at Taylor Hall and how he got offered less money to go play in Colorado than apparently we did. But he went and found money in Buffalo. Athanasiou is going to go find money somewhere and get paid, as he probably should, and then address it in a year or two.
No, he didn't get what he got last year.
I think he's going to get some kind of money from somebody. I feel like these guys that have waited it out are just kind of waiting to find that money now. Like, I don't think that these guys are wanting.
You got to find a dance partner.
These teams aren't going to find no bags of money to hand out, though.
It's like a guy like Cahoon. Like if Gregor says he said no to Edmonton because it wasn't enough money. If you're a guy like Dominic Cahoon, you should probably just be looking for the best fit. And the other thing too, like let's say Edmonton's offer is $300K shy of what you thought it would be. Okay, let's put that into terms of this year's pandemic where $300K, that difference, is getting cut down 28% because that's what they're apparently going to lose in escrow. And it could potentially get cut down another 25% if the season isn't a full 82 games, if they only play 60 and they start prorating salaries. Like now is
that what they do? If they end up playing a 48, 60 game season, are they going to get prorated down to that?
Oh yeah.
See, this is why I still don't understand why the players are okay with pushing back to January 1st or even February 1st, as the Vegas owner spilled there the other day. Like for them, you want to make as much money as possible. Dude, get out there in December.
But the players don't have a ton of control over that. It was the same thing in baseball this year. The players wanted to play, man, and the owners, I mean, the word was the owners were just kind of pushing it to keep prorating salaries.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I suppose, the owners, their only real benefit is fans in the seats, and obviously that's not really... Well, you can get some fans in the seats come December 1st.
The Oil Kings are pushing...
Even in Canada, you might be able to do it.
The Oil Kings are asking for 500 or 5,000 people, I think it is, at their games.
5,000 is almost as much as they had at games last year. Like that's more than
I think that they would open up the arena though.
You can spread that out pretty well, can't you?
Yeah, if you open up the whole barn, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's what I heard. So you got to imagine that the NHL teams are going to be pushing for that, especially when you look at, the Florida Panthers, if they're playing a home game, are going to be able to have the entire arena filled, which is terrifying to think.
It's 17 fans, so it'll be fine.
Tampa Bay Lightning are going to be able to have an entire arena filled, right? You just look around the league, and some of these teams are going to be operating at full capacity, and some of the teams are going to be begging for.
They won't be doing that. Even like the football teams have been offered the same thing, and they have sat back and said, "No, we're not."
I don't know, man. Because college football stadiums filled.
But they're not filling them at all. They're like 30% full.
Because I listened to the Bill Foley interview this morning. I'm working on something for the Nation for the weekend, and he basically said, without saying it, like, what is the benefit to me as an owner of putting up all the risk of covering salaries, et cetera, but I can't cover my costs because I can't sell tickets and merch and food and all the things that go into it. He said, yeah, there's the TV deals available, but that's not enough.
Bill Foley should be lucky he has an NHL
Are we also
team.
going to be expected? Are we also going to be expected to fly around the country to go to empty arenas? He's like, financially, it doesn't make sense.
Baseball made it make sense. Unless
other sports are doing it, right? And you're not going to be by December 1st, January 1st, February 1st. You're not going to be at zero fans. Even if they start December 1st, I think you're going to be able. Every arena out there is going to be able to put out a certain percentage of fans. Some being higher, some being lower, but what it is. So I don't think you're ever going to be at a point now where it's going to be zero fans. So I think they just need to get it going as soon as possible. Figure out all the wrinkles. And I understand there's still things change day by day, twice in a day. So it's tough to put down long-term plans, but the earlier the better, if you ask me, man.
We're going to look at what that might look like in a minute. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends at skipthedishes.ca. Again, I'm looking outside. It is snowing in the city of Edmonton. And to me, that makes a perfect sense. Chill in your house, wrap up in a nice little blanket, cuddle with your favorite ERM Chuck, and order yourself a nice little dinner. Could be anything you want. Maybe it's soup season. It's soup season around here. Nice bowl of pho. That'd do a really nice job for your stomach right now. Go to skipthedishes.ca, find one of many, many options. And as Tyler always says, tip your drivers. They're putting themselves out there for you, and you should reward them for it as well. Skipthedishes.ca, get yourself some meat. Now, I've been talking about this for probably 2 months on this podcast. The idea of an all-Canadian division. If the border remains closed, it looks like it could be one of the options that gets us back on the ice. Now, it's a little bit sticky, and it's a little bit weird, but at the same point, we just wrapped up the weirdest Stanley Cup playoffs in NHL history. I don't care. I'm all for it. I love the idea of playing against the other Canadian teams over and over again, building the rivalries, building the hatred, building just animosity with fans that actually care about the game. Outside of Ottawa sucks.
Did you go over the schedule? Did you go over the results last year?
No, I didn't, but that's going to be pressure.
I have them here.
Please.
Vancouver, we're 2-2. Calgary, 1 win, 3 losses. Winnipeg, 1 win, 2 losses. Montreal, 2 wins, no losses. Toronto, 1-1. Ottawa, 0-1. We are 7-8 overall. And all Canadian division scares the shit out of me.
No, fuck it. We're winning it all. You think that the Battle of Alberta was heated before. Wait until we have to play Tkachuk 19 times a year.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Tkachuk. I'm worried about the guy that signed today, Matt Giampani, or whatever the hell his name is. That dude lit us up all the goddamn time.
I think that you can throw out all the previous results out the window. It's a new season. The Oilers get to game plan for 7 teams or 6 other teams. Let's go. Let's get the season started right now.
They get a game plan for us too.
Try and stop Leon and Connor. Leon and Connor are going to embarrass the Ottawa Senators.
How many times have we gone to Calgary? How many times have we gone to Calgary and given a fucking big, large spoonful of loss? It sucks. Every loss sucks so much more when.
Well, guess what? We don't have to go to Calgary anymore.
That's not a good thing. I want to go to Calgary. I want to go to Calgary. I want to get in fights in the sand. I want to have them all angry at me before the fucking first puck drops. That's fun stuff.
Every time.
Man, could you imagine if we got to do some with wins?
Like you think we hated Leaf fans before? Try playing them 19 times a year.
Oh.
I think that the banter, the back and forth with different fan bases, the rivalries, the hatred. Like I just love the idea of
that's 10
back-to-back weekend, like home and homes against the Flames.
That's 10 times each of those teams for a 60-game season.
Yeah, but who's beating us in the standings?
I think I think that Canadian division might be the best out of all of them. Like outside of Ottawa, Montreal made some huge improvements, and Carey Price and Shea Weber are there. Toronto is Toronto. They are good. You can't that offense is good.
They can go off at any time.
Connor Hellebuck between the pipes, man. If they can get a blue liner here, like if they sign Travis Hamonic, although he's not the best option out there anymore, but if they get their blue line sorted out, Winnipeg's a contender. Calgary's good. They got Markstrom. Vancouver's good as well if Demko holds up and if Holtby has a bit of a bounce back here.
Big ifs, though.
Big ifs. And there's ifs everywhere. There's ifs in Edmonton with Koskinen and Smith, too. I think that Canadian division is very, very scary. And I, as an Oilers fan, that makes me nervous.
I refuse to accept this mentality.
You're going to get ulcers. You guys have to realize you're going to get nervous ulcers.
No.
We can Google how to deal with them, but I promise you, the nerves going into each of these games are going to be silly. You're going to need a lot of bran early on in the day, my man.
It's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a great time. I'm glad Dan's with me on this one because I think that this would be a challenge where Connor looks at it like, I want to be the best team in Canada, and he goes supernova, especially after 12 months of training.
He wanted to be the best. He wanted to be the best in the world. In July or June or August or whenever the hell we were playing Chicago. We won out.
He did his part.
100%. Yeah. But he's only out there 22 minutes a game.
I love the idea. Okay, so this is what I'm asking for. If you're listening to this podcast right now, hit us up on ON Radio Podcast on Twitter or Instagram, or slide into any of our DMs and let us know how you think the Oilers would match up in an all-Canadian division.
It'd be tougher than playing just the regular division, that's for sure.
We're not losing to Montreal. We're not losing to Ottawa. We're going to beat Vancouver more times than we lose.
We've lost to Ottawa. Ottawa has like a bunch of AHL players. We go out there and we're like, everyone's playing with the wrong-handed stick and we're still sleepy. We've never got those are the games. They're usually like day games too, like a Saturday day game. We don't get up for those games. It's frustrating as hell to watch that stuff.
Yeah, but now they're a division rival.
I also don't think that Vancouver's improved this offseason.
No, and Vancouver actually doesn't scare me a lot. Vancouver doesn't scare me, but Winnipeg scares me. Calgary, Toronto, they scare me.
But all these teams, they get jacked up to play the best in the world, right? You've got 2 of the best in the world on our team. you're never going to get a sleeper performance by those guys. They're always going to get jacked up the playoffs.
But if you want to win the Stanley Cup, you got to beat the best teams anyway. And a whole season worth of hitting the trenches against a very tough division. I mean, maybe that preps them for a run.
I'm down whenever they make a schedule. I'm good with it. It is what it is. Let's just get the games going again. But yeah, it terrifies me. It'll be cool and it'll be fun. Hindsight, hopefully we'll look back and be successful. But I'm telling you guys, you're going to go into games. We're going to get nervous ulcers. Anxiety is going to kick in. Like it's going to be something.
How good is the nation banter going to be though? Just like the
best
sites just sniping each other. Like
nation beer sales are going to go through the roof.
It'll be the best.
And hopefully beat sales go the exact opposite.
Exactly. I am beat free since August whenever the Oilers shot themselves. So I'd like to keep that going for as long as possible. I want to touch on this because last week when we did the podcast, Tyson Berry hadn't signed yet. I just want to touch on him quickly. What did everybody think of the money he got? And him, I love the fact that he bet on himself on a 1-year deal to come into Edmonton. He already mentioned he was excited to play with Connor, Leon, and Nuge. He said that in his entry interview. What do you guys think about Berry at 375? 375.
I think it's a good number. I mean, you're looking at going into that. Everyone's predicting numbers, 5, 6, even north of that. So I think at that number, it's good. I don't think he's betting on himself as much as he is betting on those around him. I think he's surrounded himself with the best he could do. The only thing I'm a little bit scared of is after a really good year, signing him long term and kind of maybe booting out a Bouchard or something like that. I'd still rather see him come in for one good year, put up some massive points, get your contract elsewhere, but I still want to see Bouchard be in his role come next year.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, then.
I was just going to say, coming into this, I'm pretty sure on the last episode I said that the non-signing of Benning to me signaled that they were looking at a Barrie type, and he came in at the number below the number that I thought he would. So yeah, I think it's a phenomenal signing. I still think that there is work to be done on the defense to be able to be ready for the season going forward. But yeah, Barrie coming in is perfect. Sorry, Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, a couple of years ago, not replacing Sekera sunk them, right? Like that killed them.
Yep.
And they haven't completely replaced Clefbaum. I think it's going to be a little by committee. You're going to need Jones to play a bigger role at 5-on-5. You're going to need Russell to play like he did in the play-in round for probably a whole season. But going out and getting that power play producer, an elite power play producer in Tyson Barrie, it fills a big part of that hole. It's a great signing. And I touched on this on Real Life a little bit. It's great to see these guys taking discounts to play in Edmonton. And it's a bit of that McDavid Draisaitl effect that we talked about where, we're not all of a sudden getting high-end free agent, like the superstar names to commit here long-term. But Edmonton all of a sudden is the destination you look at to go, there's a good chance I can turn around my career there. I can have a career year with the Edmonton Oilers. And it's cool to see, like, Turris took a little bit less money. Barrie took a little bit less money. Ennis, I think, definitely took less money as well to come back here. So it's nice to see, and I think the Barrie edition, it's going to be huge. I think it could even make them a more exciting team at 5-on-5 with that guy snapping pucks up to McDavid and Draisaitl off the rush and Nugent Hopkins. I think he'll keep the tempo up when he's on the ice. He might be a tire fire in his own end once in a while, but all in all, I think he makes them a more exciting team, if anything.
That's what I was going to say. Like, the thing about Tyson Barrie that Oilers fans need to know, like, now, toot sweet, is this guy is not a defensive specialist. And if that's what you're expecting from him, you're going to be bummed out about it. Yeah. But what he can do and has consistently done throughout his career, especially after Babcock got fired in Toronto last year, is put up points.
So did we get ourselves a Sandis Ozelin here?
Maybe. Possibly.
Hey, just seeing who's old enough to catch that reference.
I know who he is. I never watched him play.
That dude was, he was terrifying in his own end when it came to the puck.
Yeah,
but, as soon as he had that puck and he was going north, then the other team was pretty scared.
Isn't he the only player to have worn like the logo of a team that he wasn't on at an All-Star game too?
Oh yeah,
John Scott did that.
Yes, that's true. Well, he was the NHL though.
Ozelin got traded like during the break and had to wear the first team, his original team's jersey
that he got nominated by.
Yeah. Before I move off Barrie, this kind of circled the internet this week. Oilers fans hotly debating whether or not he should be allowed to wear Ryan Smith's number 94 as he did last year in Toronto. He did wear number 4 in Colorado. Chris Russell wears 4 here. He did wear 41 in Colorado. We yesterday on Real Life made ourselves look like assholes and said maybe he wears 44. Nobody thinking that Cassian wears 44 already. So we don't know what he's going to wear. He hasn't said it yet. He hasn't said anything. However, the question for today, gentlemen, is it okay for him to wear a Legends number? A legend in our hearts more so than necessarily the overall, this isn't Gretzky we're talking about, but it's Smitty. He's a heart and soul guy that everybody in the city loves. Tyson Berry wearing 94, yes or no, Rick?
No.
Ooh.
There's a lot of digits out there, a lot of different numbers to go with. Don't put that extra BS on you. Even we saw what happened when Lowe gave it to Hall, right? I mean, this is a guy who may only be here for 1 year as well. It's not going to kill you. You've worn 41. Dude, just go pick another number. It's not that hard.
He can wear whatever number he wants. Do I think it's the best idea for him?
He can't wear whatever number he wants.
When he comes, Well, but when he comes into the organization, he said he doesn't want to. He wants to escape a lot of the media criticism. Well, you're gonna bring on some kind of critique to you if you wear the number 94 in Edmonton. So it saves you from not having to do it. But if he wants to do it, it's just like Josh Ho saying for me. It's not retired. It's not a disrespect. It's just a part of the game. He wants to wear 94. He wears 94. Just like if he wore 4, it's not. Well, I guess it's going to be retired. But Chris Russell if Chris Russell wasn't here, Jesus, this is good. If Chris Russell wasn't here and he wanted to wear 4, so be it as well. It's a part of the thing. We have a lot of legends that have played here that have worn numbers. Some of them aren't retired. That's the way it is.
For me, I kind of agree with what you're saying, Dan. Like, he can wear it if he wants, but it might not be the smartest move. Like, all you're really going to do is irk a section of the fan base. Like, no one's going to sit there and be like, oh, I love Tyson Barrie because he's wearing 94. But people are going to sit there and be like, that fucking Barrie wearing 94, disrespectful. So if he wants to do it, he can. And he should probably do it the right way by calling Ryan Smith, saying, hey, can I wear 94? Then the Oilers should probably do a nice thing on social media. That's like Ryan Smith gives Tyson Berry his blessing and have the two of them talking. Like,
yeah, you got to film that call.
Film the call, make it like a heartfelt moment for Oilers fans. Have Ryan Smith say, I loved the memories I gave Oilers fans, and I loved wearing 94, and I hope Tyson Berry gives you great memories as well, right? Like, you do that. But if I was Berry, just fucking steer clear, bro. Pick a new number. Wear 84. Okay.
I'm with you guys 100%. First of all, if he wants to escape criticism, just don't do it. But if he does do it, this is the opportunity for the Oilers to fly Ryan Smith into town, have him handing over a jersey to Tyson Berry with 94 on it, and make it a thing. But if he wants to avoid, so here's what's going to happen: he wears 94 and he fucks up, as every player does, and then people are just going to shit on him and pile on, and there's no point in it. So just wear something else. Who cares?
84 is Lageson's number, for the record.
Take Lageson's number. Fucking who cares? It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
The team has to just take it out of. The team just has to remove it from conversation. Go, okay, 4. Once Russell's done, 4 is untouchable again. 94 is untouchable. Doesn't have to necessarily get retired the way the rest of them have, because there's that whole Hockey Hall of Fame bullshit to tie to it. Do the Ring of Honor thing, the Eskimos do, or whatever. But yeah, I think it's just easiest for the organization to take the number out of it and not allow it to be an issue.
I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand. Like, so Tyson Berry wears the number. It doesn't change what Ryan Smith did for the organization. Like, I think that they have pretty clearly set parameters that you have to be in the Hall of Fame to have your number retired, and that's the way it is. So Lowe is up next, so we won't have to talk about number 4 anymore. But Ryan Smith isn't in the Hall of Fame, so he can wear the number. Totally, I'm totally on board with that. But again, I hear what you're saying, and I agree that if he wants to avoid the criticism, just walk away from 94. But he's absolutely allowed to, because it's just a number on a jersey. He's not replacing Ryan Smith in our memories. Just like Sheldon Surrey didn't replace Chris Pronger. Just like Zach Cassian didn't replace Sheldon Surrey. What's the difference between a number
and a nickname then?
What's that?
What's the difference between a number and a nickname?
Well, yeah, I mean,
no one calls Mike Smith Smitty, because
Well, they do all the time, actually.
Yeah, they do.
Well, I
They
know,
definitely
but
do.
you know, but Dan, you've tried to steer away from that, right?
I do it, and again, it's the same thing. Steer away from it. If he wants to be, if Mike Smith comes out and says, "Hey, my nickname is Smitty," then yes. But you can't control what people are saying about you. That's different. That's a different story. I don't think you call him Smitty. I don't think. I try to think of another one off the top of my head, but you don't call another person Gator. But that's as a fan, right? It's not player to player. The player decides his number. So if he wants this criticism, all for it. Wear 94. You're going to get some people that are going to be mad because you're somehow besmirching Ryan Smith's name. But at the end of the day, he's not.
Although if I'm just looking at a little bit of jersey history right now, the people that don't care, there's Glenn Anderson, his number's retired. Bernie Nichols wore it after him. Corson, Intranuvo, for the people.
Those
Billy
were
Karen
all worn before he went into the Hall of Fame.
Yep, and then 17, Yari Curry's obviously going up. Rem Murray wore it last in 2002. 31,
Ralph Intranuvo? Ralph Intranuvo wore 17?
He wore number 9. 31, Grant Fuhr's up in the rafters. Freddie Brathwaite wore it. Cujo, Joaquin Gage was the last in 2001. So it happens.
Right? Cujo didn't just besmirch Grant Fuhr's history, it's just, I just think we
those were before we had any,
we
didn't have any retired jerseys at that point. Any of those guys that Bagnell just mentioned, we didn't have any retired jerseys.
Well, but we definitely had plans to retire the Messiers, the Gretzkys, the Fuhrs of the world.
The Messiers was still playing at that. Oh, I guess he was still in the NHL. Yeah.
So was Gretzky, right? So it's just, I think that, and maybe it's an Edmonton thing. I don't know necessarily, because I guess you think about Hosang, that upset the rest of the league somehow, because that was besmirching Lemieux's character or whatever. But this number thing it just seems like there's bigger fish to fry than what number a guy wears.
I think
maybe he comes in and takes Brian Young's 76.
Hello. How dare you let Brian Young's number not be worn ever again?
Or the never forgotten Valentin Zykov from 2019 or 73.
Mr. Waivers.
I think the Oilers should sign Josh Hosang to a PTO.
Sure, why not? PTO everybody.
It's a 2-hour difference on his time zones, though. He's really going to work on that alarm clock issue.
I will personally wake him up.
As long as he only wears 66.
Changing gears to another guy who Tyson Berry will not be wearing his number, 41, Mike Smith back again. This one, not quite as popular amongst the fan base.
You don't say.
There were some defenders. I'm not saying there weren't. There's people that are going to be like, well, Smitty played well for, in the back half of the season, which is true. But he was very inconsistent. And the first game he did play in the playing round, he was absolute dog shit. He would probably say it himself.
So was the whole team.
Agreed.
To be fair.
Agreed. Thoughts real quick. Mike Smith, 1-year contract, $1.5 million is his base. He can go up to $2 million if he hits his bonuses. Tyler, I'm going to start with you on Mike Smith.
It leaves you wanting more as an Oilers fan, doesn't it? You wanted them to go out and significantly improve their situation between the pipes, and they just didn't. Mike Smith last year, you said it. He was inconsistent. The good moments were real good. The bad moments were real bad. And I worry about an aging goaltender who is now a year older. I worry that the good moments just simply won't be as good, and the inconsistent stretches will last longer than they did last year. So there's risk in this signing. It could work. It could. Mike Smith could come back, have a great season. I'm sure he's going to come in incredible shape, and I think he gives them a bit of a spark between the pipes as well. But it just left me wanting a little bit more, and I don't love the fact they gave him $1.5 million base salary. I think that was unnecessary. Who else was going to sign this guy? They probably could have got him for $1 million or $900K.
Dan, what do you think, Mike Smith?
Well, that's Tyler just kind of hit on everything. I think it was months ago when Ken Holland said he wasn't going to leave Mike Smith off the table, kind of thing, and I said, yeah, that makes sense. He's plan Z of 25 other plans before him. Seems like maybe he was in the plan E, plan F kind of range now. They went through the Holtbys and the Markstroms of the world, and then it was just kind of okay, Smith, you're our guy again. I guess when you look at the quality of people around him, you were signing question marks as it is. So it makes sense to just go with the question mark that you know a little bit more of and the coach trusts. I think we can all agree with that Tippett is just, a Mike Smith guy, and that's the way it is. But I think that the other reality we have to look at is that Mikko Koskinen is going to get the bulk of the starts this year. He's going to be starting 70% of the game. Yeah, and that's what you have to think the signal is with signing Smith as opposed to signing a Thomas Greiss or whoever was available at that moment after all the big names went away. So I think that it was good that they tried to identify it as a thing going forward. I'm glad that they didn't sign Markstrom for 7 years of his life away after 30. But it's disappointing to see on the fact that he was plan E, and like Tyler said, he got paid probably $1.5 million more than we should have wanted to pay him.
Rick?
Yeah, no, you guys nailed it right there. I mean, I was excited about everything we had done up until that point. Again, on the opposite side of things, I still want to sit there and give Holland a pat on the back. He had certain caps for each individual player, and he refused to go over them. That's two off seasons in a row that he's been not willing to overspend. This year, it turned out a little much in our benefit, getting Turris and Ennis for the price we did. We do end up with Mike Smith, who, you're right, he probably was like plan E or F. But I think there's also a little bit of, at least you know what you're getting, as opposed to bringing in somebody else who you might think he's 0.2 or 0.3, whatever, better than Smith, but you don't know exactly what you're getting. So I think we're going to sit here and look at Koskinen having to be the number one and Smith the number two. And Koskinen, last year he played one game less, but in the year before he played 55 games. So if you get, who knows how many games he played this year. If we play 60, Koskinen gets 45 of them. It's only 15 games for Mike Smith. We play 82. Well, Koskinen already proved that he can play 55. You might have to bump that up to 57, 58, 60, somewhere in there, depending exactly how Smith is after each one of his games. But, it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. There's definitely different names out there you'd rather have, but you know what you're getting yourself into. These two guys work well together. And, as long as we see Mikko play 75% of the games, I think it'll be okay.
The other thing, too, just with the money side of things, ask yourself, and this could be this is probably the defense of the move, is what helps this team more next year? A combination of Tyson Barrie and Mike Smith, or a combination of Thomas Greiss and a replacement level defenseman?
Yeah, that's fair. We're going back to the whole Lucic, Larson versus Hall, Demers thing, right? I guess then we lost out on, I don't know. Well, I guess you probably say we lost out on that one, but you're right. I think with when you put them together with Barrie, and then you look at what the opposite would have been, somebody less than Barrie, but somebody marginally better than Smith, we're probably better off in the situation we're in.
Just for me, my big thing on Mike Smith is, first of all, I would love for him to prove me wrong. I'd love for him to prove me wrong and come in and have a great season for the Oilers. I'd love it. I'll be the first to admit I was wrong. I'll throw a hand up in the air and I'll say, Mike Smith, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. However, what I will say is that Dave Tippett, I really need him to shake the Smith thing that he's got, because there was like a clear, that's his boy. That's his boy from back in the desert. And I think that if this team is going to be successful, they need to go with the goalie that was the more consistent performer last year, which was
Mikko had a 917 compared to his 902. So I understand what everyone's worried about with the coach and the goalie there, but I think the coach, hopefully the coach is smart enough to realize he's got to roll with his better one and utilize his backup in more of the backup role rather than the 1B.
Before we get to our Oodle Noodle Hot Cold Performers of the Week here to wrap things up, I want to go around the horn really quickly. Who's the biggest surprise in free agent for you guys? And I'm going to steal the obvious one. I'm saying Taylor Hall to Buffalo is shocking. He got offers from Colorado. I know he got one from Edmonton. I thought that was surprising. Not a bad play for Halsey by any means. He got his money. He's going to go into Buffalo. If they shit the bed, he's going to get traded to a playoff team at the deadline. Paves the way for a return next year? Question mark? Maybe. Probably not. But that was the biggest surprise for me. I'm going to start with Dan. Who's the biggest surprise for you in free agency so far?
I I think it was the Vancouver Canucks' inability to really do much to kind of stop the bleeding. They've lost two top four defensemen. They've lost their goalie. They lost some depth players, and they just really didn't fill those gaps. I know that a lot of rumblings around Canucks Twitter said that this was kind of the cashing of the paychecks kind of thing from a couple years of Benning trying to really accelerate the rebuild. But the team that I think all of us would say we were pretty scared of got worse this offseason. So the Vancouver Canucks for me was my big surprise.
Tyler, what do you think?
I really agree with Dan's point actually on Vancouver, because I don't think they had a very good offseason. I was like, as a whole, St. Louis botching that situation with Alex Pietrangelo was just incredibly puzzling to me. You go back to, over the last year, giving 3.75 to Scandella, 6 point whatever to Falk, and then all of a sudden not being able to afford your captain, not being able to offload the money, your best defenseman, your captain, all that stuff, one of your best players, a guy who led you to a cup, not being able to bring him back and arguing over a couple million with him, but then being okay paying Torrey Krug 7 point whatever million. The situation in St. Louis was just bizarre to me and didn't make a ton of sense.
Rick, biggest surprise for you?
I think it's going to go down to the contracts of either Matt Murray or Josh Anderson out in Montreal. I know Montreal did a lot of good things anyways, but that contract they gave him was based on a whole bucket load of potential, I think. And I think some of that potential is from a couple of years ago, and I think it has to be kind of spilling away the fact that he's not really living up to it right now. He didn't play, he played like 4 games last year or something silly like that?
He didn't play much.
You're really taking an opportunity, giving that much money and that much term to a guy who really hasn't done anything. Besides, he really hasn't lived up to his potential. So I'm going to go between, that contract and that Matt Murray contract. Those are 2 big head scratchers for me.
Tyler, it's time to get your buttons ready. We are looking at our Oodle Noodle Hot and Cold Performers of the Week. As always, if you go into any of the 14 Oodle Noodle locations, they are donating 10% of takeout and curbside orders to local charities and initiatives. This week, if you haven't seen it, you got to go to Oodle Noodle's social media, be it Instagram at Oodle Noodlegram or on Twitter at Oodle_Noodle, to see Jay turning himself into a princess. So they worked with Positively Princessed this week, who they go around to hospitals and perform for people. And Jay got princess training. And boy, does he look pretty and dainty as he dances around and frolics. And I've already had fun making memes about him. And this is only the beginning. So go into any Oodle Noodle that is near you. I guarantee there's one near you. Get yourself something to eat while also contributing to a great cause. As we do every single episode, we start with our veggies, and we are looking at the cold performers from the last 7 days. I'm going to start with Rick as he's walking through back into the office at the Pint, your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
I think it's simple, boys. Vancouver Canucks. They had an opportunity to take their team forward, and they didn't. They dropped the ball, and they got worse. So I'll accept that. It's going to make our life a little bit easier.
Mr. Nation Dan, your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
Well, not to pile on, but it's also going to be the Vancouver Canucks and the Winnipeg Jets for helping out division rival, or former division rival, the Vegas Golden Knights, with multiple trades to be able to get them out from underneath the cap hell that they keep creating for themselves and be able to sign another amazing defenseman for a couple years until they trade him away to another team for a fucking 3rd round pick as well.
What the hell is going on?
I love that pun. Tyler, your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
This one's personal. I'm not going to share the full story. In fact, I'm hoping to share it on an episode of Real Life soon. But it goes to the girl who swung her car door open incredibly hard and smoked my car door in the Safeway parking lot. Boy, I really hope she starts replying to my texts right away, because I want to get my door fixed. That girl, she's my cold performer of the week.
I'm upset.
I recommend going to Tyler's, was that on Twitter you posted the picture?
Yeah. There's a story behind it. It's not a great story, but I'd say it's a good story. I'll share it once I get my car fixed and I'm not worried about any repercussions of me going public with this story. I will share it on Real Life.
My Oodle Noodle Cold Performer of the Week has nothing to do with the NHL. I just want to say I fucking hated this season of Big Brother. It was so boring. Nothing happened. It was so stupid. Nobody took moves. They just were friends, and it was boring, and I hated it, and I can't wait till it's over. Big Brother, you suck. I hate you.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
That's exactly how I felt. Thank you. We're going to go to the hot performers of the week. A little bit of positivity from the last 7 days in our lives. And this time I'm going to start with Mr. Yaremchuk.
Hello.
Your hot performer of the week.
I'm actually going to give it to Ken Holland. I like the work he did over the last week, or over the last month. I'll even say that. The Puljujarvi deal, solid. Ennis deal, amazing. Turris deal, I like it. Barrie deal, I love it. Smith deal, I'll give you a pass because you gave us 4 other good moves. Ken Holland is my hot performer of the week.
I like this right here.
I like that too. Mr. Nation Dan, your Oodle Noodle hot performer of the week.
Interesting.
Dan is on mute.
Dan, the correct thing to do, Dan, is to unmute yourself.
I was scrambling to try and find a new one because it was going to be Ken Holland. But you know what? It's going to go to Taylor Hall because he somehow, every time he goes into free agency, he keeps that door open as to, it might be Edmonton. And then he left the door open again with the report that maybe he's just signed that 1-year deal to be able to come back home again after this season. So it's Taylor Hall for getting that money and keeping the door open on a return forever.
Cash money.
Provided that doesn't mean that they have to make a choice between he and Nuge, I would be fine with that. Rick, your Oodle Noodle hot performer of the week.
Well, I think I'm going to go with a personal one here too, and I'm going to give it to the Buffalo Sabres. Not just for bringing in my buddy Taylor Hall, but going in and bring buddy of the whole Nation Network.
Yeah.
Adding Brandon Davidson to their lineup.
Yep.
I was able to have a quick little chat with him there whenever the hell it was done, and yeah, he seems pretty pumped up. He likes the fact that Ralph's there, and he said, hey, I think it would be a good fit. So then they get to sneak in some Taylor Hall afterwards. So yeah, hopefully things work out for them.
Put some respect on my name.
Love the Brandon Davidson signing. He's a good dude, great guy. Love seeing him get a shot out in Buffalo. My Oodle Noodle hot performer of the week, just to wrap things up, I'm going to go right here on the podcast and wish a very happy birthday to Tyler Yaremchuk, who just celebrated yesterday. Nobody likes him when he's 23, as Blink once said, but I do. I like the way he looks today. I like the way he smells, and I like the way he hugs me when he's drunk. So I'm going to give my Oodle Noodle hot performer of the week to Tyler Yaremchuk.
Yeah!
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Dan, I just saw you posted on Instagram about some Twitch trivia. If you could please walk us through that as we wrap up the show.
Yeah, so Wednesday night, we're going to have the triumphant return to official Oilers Nation on Twitch, and we'll have some Oilers-related trivia there, and you'll be able to win some prizing. Prizing is to be determined, so it's just kind of vague on those details right now. But Wednesday night at 7 p.m., just follow us on Twitch at official Oilers Nation, and hope to see everybody there. We'll have some trivia fun for everyone.
Always good. Get your Oilers knowledge intact. Mr. Nation Dan is going to be hosting a little bit of trivia. Wants you to win some prizes, but you got to flex that big old brain ears. Got to do it. From Tyler Yaremchuk, Rick, and Nation Dan, I am Bag Milk. Thanking you all for being here again, though. I'm disappointed in each and every one of you that make it this far in the podcast because there's no new reviews in Apple Podcasts, and I just want to read your shit. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to read what you think.
How do they go about to do this? What do you got to click to get this done?
You can just go to find Oilersnation Radio on Apple Podcasts, subscribe right there, and you can also rate and comment right there. Super easy. You can do it right from your phone. You can do it on the toilet if you want. You can even tell us you're doing it on the toilet.
For Spotify, there's the same kind of system. It's just go in and rate, and then you can submit a message, and we have to read it on the air. So that's the caveat.
I'd love to read it. That's what I want to do. Rate, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a cousin, tattoo it on your face. I don't care. Just get this podcast out there. We're growing, and we're grateful for you. I want to thank Sherwood Ford the Giant, Skip the Dishes, and Noodle for making it all possible, and each and every one of you for being here. I am Bag Milk. This is episode 108 of Oilers Nation Radio. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.
Shout out, Damien.
Best wishes.
Thanks for listening to Oilers Nation Radio, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media to stay up to date and never miss a podcast.